Hey guys, greatest teacher in the world here, going to the ends of the earth to make sure you could do this project properly and give you all the tools to do it well. I'm going to try to give you guys some examples of, small examples of what you could be doing on your projects to make it a little bit easier. This is going to be an example of a narrated slide of the narrated PowerPoint part, narrated PowerPoint way of doing the project. I'm going to narrate about 3 or 4 slides. I'll give you an example of where to start. Okay, here we go. Welcome to my project. In this project, we're going to analyze the first 3 rock cases in the Gemara, that Bava discusses and tells us what the halachot are for each one. And the first one was the case where the rock was on his lap and he didn't know about it. The second one where the rock was on the person's lap and they forgot about it and they got up and it rolled off. And the third case where they tried to throw a rock 2 amot and it went 4 amot. We're going to do this, instead of doing it one case at a time, we're going to do it by each area of halacha one at a time. We're going to go through the 5 areas of halacha. And we're going to start off with the laws of nizik and the laws of damages. Okay, so as I just mentioned, the first area of halacha that's discussed in each of the cases are the halacha related to damaging property. It's called nizikin. The general rule, the klal that we learn when it comes to nizikin, the klal meaning the general rule that we use to try to figure out laws, is that adam mu'ad le'olam. Adam mu'ad le'olam means a person is always responsible for the damage that they do. Sorry, I like the arrow better. I'm going to do it again with the arrow. Adam mu'ad le'olam. A person is always responsible for the damage that they do. That's your general rule. So now, in each situation, we need to take that general rule and say, how does it apply in this case? So if it's true that Adam mu'ad le'olam, that a person is always responsible, then in a situation of ones, you'd be chayav. Ones is where you had absolutely no control over the scenario, over the situation, right? It was completely out of your control. You'd still be chayav, even though it wasn't your fault, because adam mu'ad le'olam, person is always responsible. Shogeg as well. If you were to damage something, but you did it by accident because you forgot or whatever it was a mistake on your part, then clearly, if you're adam mu'ad le'olam, you're always responsible for damage. You're gonna have to pay. And finally, if you made an honest mistake, right, you know exactly what you're doing. You set up the situation. The act that you do, you know what you're doing. But it just, you slip, and it doesn't end up exactly how you thought it was going to end up. Not because you forgot about something. Just it was an honest mistake. Of course, then you'd also be chayav because adam mu'ad le'olam. Okay, a person is always responsible for what they do. What's an example of that? So let's go on to the next slide. So as you pointed out, ones means that it's completely out of your control. So how do I know that for ones you'd be chayav? Besides the fact that I explained it how it works from the klal, based on logic, that if you're always responsible, then it doesn't really matter, whether it was in your control or not. But the proof is from our Gemara. Our Gemara says that if a person had a rock on their lap and they never knew about it and it rolled off and did damage, you'd be chayav. Now this is an example. This is a paradigm for ones. It's a perfect example of a situation of ones, situation where it was out of your control. You never knew the rock was there, yet the Gemara says you're chayav. So based on analogy, you would say, right, that in our case, I'm sorry, we'll do that in a second. But again, if the person had the rock on their lap, so that's a situation where you see that there's ones and the person is chayav. So how does this play out in real life? So let's give a psak. Let's give a real practical, real life ruling on that. Let's say you have a situation where a person is driving on the street and God forbid they have a random heart attack and it causes them to go, their car to veer off the road and it smashed into somebody else's car, damaging it. So that would be a situation of ones because it was completely out of your control. You're a completely healthy person. You were not expecting this heart attack. You're in completely good health. So we're saying, what's the law going to be? So we use analogy here. If in the paradigm case for ones, you were chayav, and our case is analogous because you never knew the heart attack was coming, similar to never knowing the rock was there. So the same way we know in the paradigm case for ones, you're going to be chayav. So too in our case, you're going to be chayav as well. Okay, so for all those who followed that, that's basically the format that you want to be able to do for all the cases. After this, I would go through nizikin with shogeg, and I would do nizikin with an honest mistake, and I would show how in both cases you're chayav, and how there are 2 other cases in the Gemara which discusses damaging shogeg, which was you forgot the rock was on your lap, and damaging honest mistake, where you wanted to throw a 2 and it went 4 and it did damage. And I would show you how, just like in those cases, which are a paradigm for shogeg and a paradigm for honest mistake, you'd be chayav. So too in a case that you would make up yourself, in that case, you want to make it analogous to those 2 cases. In those cases also, you would be chayav as well. And so on and so forth for all the areas of halacha.